Hi everyone, welcome to episode 17 of Customers Who Click. Today's guest is Raj Anand, the founder of Goodman Lantern, and we're here today to talk about content marketing. Content marketing is a great way of providing value to your audience and building a trustworthy brand. It works all the way through the funnel, whether you're looking to acquire, engage, and retain customers, and can work for pretty much any business, really. So let's hear from Raj to get the details. Hi Raj, welcome to the podcast. John, tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and why you do what you do.
Thank you. Well, good to be here, firstly. So I'm the CEO and founder of Goodman Lantern. We are a company which provides native English content writers and software development services that help businesses sell better and grow faster. We do content writing for some of the largest luxury retailers and B2C sector. And in the B2B, we do a lot of customers who are sort of mid to large customers. As it happens, this is my third business. I sold one of them in the past, and one as it happens went tits up. But I'm an engineer by training, but I got into marketing. And before I set up Goodman Lantern, I should work for a Spanish company as initially the country manager and product manager. Then I got into this to become a CEO. Took 280 flights per year for them. Made them a lot of money, and thought, it's time to now kind of get into running my own business again. And that's when I started Goodman Lantern in 2014.
Wow. Okay. 280 flights is a lot. I bet you've got miles for life now.
Yeah, I remember being on the gold and platinum cards and stuff, and it was very, very nice to travel around. But I think initially, feel very excited about being doing this kind of flights and stuff, and going around the globe. But then very quickly it gets too much too quickly, and you want to kind of get out of it. So, after the end of my tenure with the Spanish company, my aim was to start a company where I can work from anywhere. In fact, my goal for myself was to start a business which I could run from a boat in the Andaman Sea. That was my big target, and now obviously that's called remote working. That's how things changed for me, I guess.
So a very good goal to have. So tell us a bit more about Goodman Lantern and what a standard day looks like for you.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we have two different services within Goodman Lantern. One is native English content writing, and the other one is software development, both of which are very marketing centric. We help our customers, help them really build a brand, tell the story, and really help them with things I'm really passionate about, which is SEO. Because I've seen in my career that every time I run a campaign around SEO, content writing, it's always generated fantastic results. It's just been a very good for the ROI, as it were. Typically, as a founder, obviously, in the beginning of the business, I was really focused working in the business. But about 2 years back, my decision was to kind of change my way of working and work on the business. So, a lot of my work had been to sort of really delegate things to my team. We have head of departments. We have different team members who do different roles and report back to me. We do weekly huddles, the team. My role really is to work on the client engagement, think of strategies. I'm kind of a mentor for my team, as it were, and constantly learning things. I'm part of a ton of entrepreneur groups where we spend a lot of money to be part of these groups, but the value it creates for me and the team is incredible. Our biggest challenge about 2 years back was how do we really get the team to think as a unit, as a sports team, or and that was really hard for me initially. But we have been focused really on our mission, our vision, our core values, which has changed completely for us, how businesses run. And actually, now we are a much stronger team. As I mentioned before, we are a remote team, and running a remote company is challenging. But I think if a company has their core values fixed, there is a major victory for them, and they can actually progress much better as a unit together.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you've got employees who are really kind of bought into the company, the values, and are motivated, then remote working should be much easier. But if
Absolutely.
if you're not focusing on those things, it's a lot easier for those people to kind of waste time and sit around a bit unmotivated, and it's a lot more damaging, isn't it?
I believe so. And I think what happens also is that typically I've seen that companies sort of are run with every a team member having a different agenda. When we work with our customers, our aim is that every team member has the same thoughts and processes in their mind, and it also helps us and guides us to the process of making a big decision. For example, should we invest in a new software? Our one of our core values is experimentation, and we are really happy to try different things. We are very happy to encourage members if they fail, and we help them get up and try again. It's part of our core values, and we believe that we have 4 core values, and these 4 values guide us in the right direction. So every time we talk to my head of content or the head of technology or a programmer, all of us have the same thoughts on how we're going to progress further. And it wasn't easy initially. It was very, very hard. But now we had to fire a lot of people, unfortunately, and let them go. But we built a team bottom up so that we are all aligned together and really believe in the mission of Goodman Lantern.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's good to hear. So do you want to tell us a bit more about content marketing then? What does it cover? If a B2C brand wanted to learn more about content marketing.
Sure. So within B2C, we work mainly with retailers. Obviously, currently in the pandemic mode, a lot of retailers have understood that actually selling online is a very important part of what they do. When it comes to content, there are multiple sort of ways you can sort of divide the content. But if you look at the content sort of sphere, there are certain types of content which work really well. So, for example, blogs and articles, long form content, white papers, social media, newsletters, and other content, for example, scripting of videos and stuff like that, for example. Videos have now become a very important part of marketing and SEO in general as well. But if you think about content, instead of thinking about the types of content, we like to think about this from the point of view of a funnel or maybe even a flywheel. So typically the content which we write is based on the mission and the vision of the company and where they stand in their sort of goals for the next year, next 2 years, next 5 years, next 10 years. So, for example, if the customer is just dipping their toes into content, they're still the beginning of the journey, and the aim is to just kind of get as much traffic, as many eyeballs as possible to their site, to the business, and that's top of the funnel. That's like top of the funnel, just trying to get as many people as possible. The next stage is education. So you get your visitors in, you get your potential customers in, and now it's to educate them on the context of what you do and what value you provide. So, for example, if there was a car manufacturer, initially we'll talk about how to choose a car, what are the different components of a car. But when it comes to the middle of the funnel, it's about educating about the genre in which the car manufacturer is a leader. So, for example, it's luxury. How do you find your car with the best gadgets inside it? How do you find a car which will satisfy your needs to play music or to navigate your way through? That's the sort of the middle of the funnel. And finally, we come down to the bottom of the funnel, which is basically where we help the customer convert their warm leads or their educated customers into paying customers. So now from a lead, they become a paying customer, and that kind of content is completely different. So, what we will do top of the funnel is completely different to what we'll do bottom of the funnel. Bottom of the funnel may be more focused on conversion, maybe, for example, newsletters are a nice way, but sometimes there are offers which you can put in to get them to convert into paying customers. And again, it depends on the genre of the customer. Sometimes luxury customers prefer that this is done through private event, whether it's virtual or it's in person. And again, we try to help them to have a strategy in place which they can implement to get this customers going. Now, this is a funnel example I've just kind of given you, but we have over the last few months realized that actually, this is a constant process. What you put at the bottom of the funnel actually leads to more customers. It's how you treat your customers. This whole funnel is not about, if you think of customers just as funnels or funnel people who are going through funnel, I think we can probably lose the sight of the bigger picture, which is that customers who are satisfied, who are happy, will actually talk about you and educate other people about your business, your service, your product, and send them your way. So actually, the funnel is a kind of a flywheel. So what you put at the bottom of the funnel then goes up the funnel to bring in more customers, more referrals, and more business.
Could you give us a quick example of, pick like one business, some sort of e-commerce business, and just a quick, what would you do as top, middle, bottom funnel? Let's say it was just like a fashion retailer.
Yeah. So when we look at the fashion retailer, for example, which some of them who we work with, the top of the funnel example tends to be where we are talking about fashion in general. Sometimes it's actually not about fashion, it's about lifestyle. We talk about healthy living. We talk about, why save the environment, for example, because that's important for some of the customers. Today, in the luxury fashion industry, we see a lot of the customers are actually, looking at people who care about the environment, global warming, that sort of stuff. That tends to be, far away from the actual clothing which they're selling in. But this is important to the customer. So the content we write about is some in that genre. Then, if you want to, bring those people in, we write content on the area, put on the site or social media that leads to people, understanding the brand, the company itself, which then leads them to kind of look at other stuff which is there on their website. In the middle section of the funnel, we are really focused on educating them. How does a brand work alongside, for example, the environment? How some of the bags they prepare are made out of recycled plastic bottles, and that's what we kind of put into the education. For example, we talk about the impact on CO2 emissions and how we see the environment for them. That's the middle funnel. Bottom funnel basically are straight up offers. We'll give them offers. We'll invite them for exclusive content, which they can sign up to. And that really leads to them signing up to a plan, if the company is doing that, for instance, or, for example, buying products or services from the company itself. So that's the kind of typical funnel which we'll have with a retailer. This might look a little different for B2B, but in general, they are very similar.
Yes, it's kind of top of the funnel, we care about the environment. Middle of the funnel, here's how we care about the environment. And bottom of the funnel is, here are the products we have that care about the environment.
Absolutely. I think obviously there are themes which we run through, and these themes are decided by the customer at a board level usually. Sometimes we come in to kind of given our opinions, but typically brands today are really good at thinking about the bigger picture, thought leadership, and they bring that in alongside the brief which we get from them.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. What are the common myths and misconceptions about content marketing?
I mean, there are quite a few of them, obviously. I think the most common thing we have heard is, we wrote 10 blog posts last year, and guess what? Didn't work. So content marketing doesn't work at all. That's something we hear quite often. It's really unfortunate because content strategy is, first of all, not a long-term strategy. Sorry, it's not short-term strategy, it's a long-term strategy. If you're thinking short-term, content it's not going to work, unfortunately. It needs a thought about process put into place to embark on into content. So, for example, if a company hasn't got into doing research into their competition and the perception by the customer, their customer, then that will be one sort of missing point right at the beginning. But also, it's important that every content is actually experimented with, trialed with, and then scaled up. Because content only works if there is a process put into place to scale it up. 10 pieces of content for the entire year will not do this magic. It needs to be researched, put into practice, scaled up, and to bring in marketing specialists who are thought leaders in that particular area. Educating the customer, educating the market about your offering is super important. It only happens if you bring in your thought leadership and allow your best people to put their thoughts to somebody who can then put that into writing format, whether it's a white paper or it is a blog or an article. It has to be put into place. It has to happen at scale. You have to allow the content to be produced at a mass level, so you can go into not only your own blogs, also, for example, other people who can be affiliates, for example, as well. And each content piece will be a little bit different. Affiliates write a different piece of content which will endorse you in one way or the other and get you the sale. Your blog posts are more educational, for example, and they need to be written in a particular way as well. So it's about scaling up, it's about research, it's about all the above to make it really happen.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like every marketing channel, really. You've got to do your research first. You can't just jump into it. You test things out, learn what works, and then double down on that and take it from there. But I think a lot of businesses that try to do things like blogs, but don't really think of it as content marketing, do tend to have that approach of just, we need to get a blog out every week. And that's pretty much it's not even a strategy really, is it? It's their goal, I suppose, is just to get one article out every week on the blog so that it can go in the newsletter on social media and stuff. And that's probably why a lot of businesses don't see the results, because they're not. There's no research, there's no plan there.
Absolutely, I think this, as you mentioned before. Well, it's like other marketing strategies. There has to be a plan put in place. I think the number of blogs or articles or content per week is less important than the impact it makes to help you get your brand out there, your service out there, or to get the customers to convert. I think to get that sort of right, the first step has to be research. It has to be the potential competition you have in the market and what are the potential opportunities as a business. Because I think if one has done that research, understood the keywords, for example, understood the brand perception, then potentially the work to be done on content was much easier. It's that initial homework to be done to kind of get there. And that is, very, very tricky. I think sometimes customers miss that and think it's all about that sort of one blog post per week, which perhaps is not going to help them to achieve their goals.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess expanding on that a bit more then, if someone wanted to get started with content marketing, what are the key things they need to consider first in order to get started?
I think the first thing definitely would be to understand their objectives. What is it that they want to do? Is it to build a brand? Is it to increase the traffic? Is it to convert current traffic into paying customers? Or is it education, for example? Once that's done, then it is, okay, well, if you want to say, for example, increase traffic, what is the competition right now in the market? For example, if you are selling bags and in luxury bags, for example, is it going to be is it really targeted at women of a particular age or location, for example? Who else is in the market doing something similar? What is the brand value of those companies? What is your brand value? What is that you can do which is different and makes you stand out from them, for example? It's about being innovative about your approach and a little bit different as well. Is it going to be sold online, offline? There's a combination of them. Is it going to be sold as a sort of a annual plan, for example? So those kind of research as well. And then also figuring out, if that is the case, what are the keywords, for example, or bits of content you can write, which could be effectively convert your prospects into customers. So it's that kind of research to be done initially. And then trying out a few things after building a strategy in place and seeing what works and what doesn't work. Unfortunately, there isn't a easy way to kind of have a guaranteed approach to writing anything in content or any form of marketing. It's a lot of trial and error, and it's to see how it works. Now, with content especially, and just content marketing and SEO, it takes time. It's not a overnight success. Sometimes it takes up to 6 months to sometimes even 2 years to kind of get the results which you want to get. But it's that believing in the process and just going at it and having a frequency in mind at which you'll be kind of going ahead. So when we work with the customers, we try to put in a process to educate them as well. We the first couple of months when you're working with the customers, we really work on making them understand what we are doing for them, what research has been done for them, the learning and delivery, how it's done, for example. And we constantly improve our process to show them that this is what we're currently working on. This is what we did last month. This is what the comments we got from people. This is what we put on social media. This is what the likes we got for them. And guess what, guys? This works really well. Let's double down on this particular aspect of the content. Measure it. Using Google Analytics, for example, or other tools which we use to measure the impact on the brand and the content which is great for them, and then improve on that regularly. Every month, we work on a sort of analytics of what we got from them, discuss it with them in a call, and get that improved month on month. I mean, we've seen, for example, one of the highest ROIs has been newsletters for us, and every month we managed to improve the click-through rates, for instance, and the open rates, is because we've been constantly focused on measuring our success and what has worked and what hasn't.
Yeah, it's so important to measure, isn't it? Actually have those KPIs in place, measure performance of everything you're doing, and then you kind of get your direction from there, and what you should do more of, what's not working, what might need tweaking. How important do you think brand is in content marketing? So do you think if a company just had kind of a, obviously they have a brand, but they put out a really good piece of content, do you think it's better do you think it's better to focus on just the quality of the content, or would it be better to have maybe slightly worse content, but with a clear, distinct brand behind it? So the tone of voice in the writing and things like that.
I mean, obviously, brand is a very important part of any marketing strategy. I think having a voice, a unique voice, I should say, is super important to be able to distinguish oneself from the others. I mean, any market today, whether it is selling software, selling carpets, selling services, all of them, there is an element of a strong brand. Brands can make or break a business. The perception of the business can be changed completely. Also, the value of what you sell. I mean, if you think about it, many companies provide T-shirts today, but some brands can charge 100x the price you would pay for a t-shirt from Amazon, for instance. And that's because they have a strong brand value, a brand promise, and they really make sure that they deliver to it. Is that the customer service they put in? And this brings me back to the idea of the flywheel. Obviously, if you as a brand promise something and deliver it and surpass the thoughts which the customer initially had to deliver that promise, they will talk about it. I mean, I know, for example, I've been, I'm big on technology. I buy a lot of, electronics, for instance. And, before my friends, get them, for example, before Apple was, popular with their iPhones, I got the iPhone 1 and 2, and I was on and on about iPhone and how it was. I was the sort of the thought leader in the electronic market, the mobile phone market, for my friends. And, I could recommend them to go get an iPhone because I was impressed by what it can do. I mean, smartphones at that point had just come out. Before that, we were always using Nokia, for example, and they were great phones, Nokia. But, iPhone came in and said, we're going to change the way you interact with a mobile phone and what you can do with it. Fast forward today, and I'm now moved on to a Samsung, for example, because I love to use a stylus, and I'm a Samsung Note guy. Now, maybe I'm perhaps two years ahead of my friends who are still on the Apple iPhone, but I am, I'm impressed by what Samsung can do for me, and recommend that. Before Samsung, I was on OnePlus, which is a Chinese manufacturer, and none of my friends have heard about OnePlus. But now, a lot of my friends are using either Apple or OnePlus because I've been on and on about OnePlus and what it can do. So the brand, which OnePlus came in and said, "Listen, we will give you a high quality smartphone at a fraction of the price of what you pay for your Samsung or Apple iPhone," and they did that, and I was just impressed by what they did, and I spoke about them a lot, actually, and got them more customers. So, I became their unofficial brand ambassador.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one because, you're in a situation there where, as far as most people are aware, there's Apple and Samsung. And all right, there was like HTC and other things, but there were kind of two very distinct, customer bases or market leaders. And so when someone who's a bit more tech savvy picks up one of these other devices, I think you are naturally going to be more vocal about it, and not in a that kind of I'm not an iPhone user, whatever. You just it's just Apple or whatever. You're saying, look, I've discovered this other phone. I think it's really great. Whereas I think if you, like you said with the t-shirts, if you find a brand that you quite like, I'm not sure if you're so likely to brag about it so much. Someone might ask you, and you might say, "Yeah, I really like it. Really good website." Not sure how many consumers talk about their website, but really like their website, or their customer service was great, and the t-shirt's really good. But I think you're less likely to kind of volunteer that information.
True. I kind of agree with that. But also I'll say, for example, there was this revolution created by Dell via the Dell.com website, which allowed consumers to customize their Dell laptops and computers. I mean, that was at one point the preferred way for both individuals and businesses to, customize and buy laptops. Obviously, there's been a big disruption in the market through, having a standardized Apple, Apple Mac, for example, which obviously you have X number of variations of the laptop, and they are great to make life easier. But sometimes, actually, if one thinks outside the box and gives a service or customization which is unusual, people do talk about it. Even if it's a website, people do talk about it. I think even if you look at t-shirts or maybe say shoes, my wife has been really talking about this shoe called Veja, Veja, which is used by recycling plastic bottles. Now, I just thought very interesting that she cares about the environment, and people in her circle do as well. So she's been, talking about those shoes to kind of, showcase that there is a need to help the world by being in a cleaner place, but also to, wear recycled shoes, for instance. So I think when people are passionate about what they do and what they want to believe in, they talk about even the most bizarre things like websites.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's the content marketing side, isn't it? Actually putting that message on there and making people really aware that, these are your brand values and this is what you're doing for the environment, for example. Whereas if that messaging wasn't there, but they still did it, you probably, well, obviously less likely to talk about it because you don't know. So what are, you've probably touched on it a bit actually, but what are some of the biggest or most common mistakes you see when people are doing content marketing?
So, I mean, obviously you spoke a little bit about the process. But I think one big general thing I see for people who are not currently on that journey is that they gave up too early. One thing which I have recognized, and I'm talking about now, not only content marketing or marketing, and just in general, that things in my business, in my career, have worked when they are long term. I believe things for me, and in my opinion, work when we think about them in long term. So when I was building a business for the first time, my vision was to kind of build a company, grow to a level, and then sell it. Which kind of made me very short-sighted. It was very focused on, quick goals, quick wins, and turnaround of the business. But actually, with most businesses and most strategies, they work when they are long-term. When as I think it was a quote from Jeff Bezos, which was, most businesses are overnight success after 10 years. So it takes 10 years for a business to actually achieve their goals. And strategies which you put in place, whether it's focusing on giving customers more value, or to allow your content or your product to be better, it takes a long time. It can't be achieved within a month or two or even 1 year. Sometimes it's longer, but it's about being persistently focused on the goal, and to achieve it takes a lot of effort, a lot of failures. And when people give up too early, before they achieve their goal, and the impact they want to see, they leave that journey, and that's when things don't work out for them. So and that's what leads to a lot of people not achieving success with content. But actually, if you look at the market today, both in B2C and B2B, especially, for example, providers like HubSpot, who sell the idea of inbound marketing, their philosophy is that the biggest ROI in marketing today is inbound marketing, which is primarily driven by content, whether it's content which you write, content which you see on YouTube, for example, or podcasts like you're doing, well. So these are all kind of forms of content which can help the customer, educate them, and then convert them.
Yeah, some companies are guilty of not taking that long-term approach to their customers. There's a lot of focus on acquisition. Spend money on ads, Facebook, PPC, Instagram, TV, whatever, and actually less focus on the engagement and the retention of those customers. And so maybe they don't see the value in longer term strategies such as content marketing, because they think, well, we can get these customers in every day through advertising. So why do we need it? And actually, it's there because it does give that. It's like that top and middle funnel stuff in particular. Really, actually helps build that relationship and engagement with a brand. And if you're doing that constantly, it'll help you retain customers as well, because they'll see the value, they'll see the values of the company as well. I think, yeah, that's it's definitely something that a lot of companies are guilty of, kind of getting customers in and then just assuming that's pretty much all they have to do. And it's similar to a content strategy, isn't it? I think the giving up too early is, or not following the methodology is, that kind of just saying, right, we're going to do content marketing, give it a go for 10 weeks, put 10 articles out there. It's not really done much and they give up.
True. And I think also it's a philosophy thing, isn't it? It's like, I think overall, if you look at the approach for a company, if you start thinking about marketing and sales and operations and programming and accounting, everything as a separate unit, it actually doesn't do justice to the company itself. If the approach is integrated, it's like together you think about, giving high value to your customer, I'm confident that will lead to retention of the customer, that will lead to more sales, and also it will lead to a positive vibe about the company. It's about constantly giving something to them, whether it's like a free coffee when they're in the lounge of your store, for example, or whether it is that extra content to educate them. It's that value creation which you do, and it has to be constant. It has to be part of your company's ethos, and this is something which you have to make it part of a culture. I think if you build a strategy which is one-sided, which is basically marketing, you're a giver, but in accounts you're not, then there's a problem. I think it's something you have to believe in completely and follow it through.
Yeah, completely agree. So what do you think will be the big trends in content marketing for the next 12 to 18 months or longer?
I think, I can see from the point of view of retail market. I mean, there is, unfortunately, we are in a difficult situation as a human race. We are, obviously going through pandemic times. There is a lot of people who are suffering, a loss of life, loved ones that, people are losing jobs, for example. We are in a difficult situation at the moment. But for some companies, this is an opportunity to innovate and help their partners, their customers. And because we can't interact with people face to face as much as you like to do today, the medium today is online. Whether these are Zoom calls, or for example, these are platforms like Pindu, which is like a new one in China. Whether these are, for example, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever it is that it might be. These are ways to engage and interact with your customers. And within them, we see 4 different opportunities and trends which we are seeing quite a bit. And these are, number one is a high volume production. So, how do you produce content on brand regularly at a very high speed and scale? Number 2 is conversion and optimization. So, how do you constantly improve for example, the basket size when people are, adding stuff to the e-commerce site? How do you help increase the conversions, for example? How do you make content which, persuade people to actually buy things more from your site? For example, on Amazon, you can, when they recommend things. So if you buy one, they recommend a complementary product as well. Similarly, they are, for example, challenge number 3, which is search optimization. How do you maximize the search engine revenues in any market? Whether it's in the local market and globally, for example. And finally, it is the marketplace optimization. So how do you enhance the product visibility, conversion rates on third-party platforms like Amazon, like eBay, like other sites like Alibaba, for example, and help you sell not only on your own website and platform, but also on third-party sites as well?
Yeah, I think the high volume production is something that's going to be quite interesting, especially if you can kind of personalize it as well. I spoke to the founder of a company called Bonjoro recently, actually on a podcast episode, and his company does personalized video, and I think it's a fantastic way for B2B and B2C to get good content out there that is can either be unique, personalized one-to-one, or if you are an e-commerce site that's got thousands of customers, it can be kind of that high volume, unique content that is it's unique to that day, for example. So I think stuff like that will be really good, and it kind of helps build up your brand as well. It's just that extra engagement piece. So I think stuff like that would be really important as well.
Definitely.
Do you have any pet peeves when it comes to marketing?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few. As I mentioned before, I think no department in the company should ever be considered in a silo. I believe the entire company works together, especially marketing and sales departments. Marketing is often responsible for generating leads for the company, and it's the sales department's job to convert them. But actually, I believe that they should be working together. They have to work together to kind of generate leads and convert them together and build a promise which you deliver to. Especially in B2C and B2B both, you see that often. It seems like marketing's job ends at a certain point and sales begins. But actually, if sales can begin a bit earlier and actually educate marketing, and marketing does the same for sales people, actually there's actually a better way of working together. I think for me personally, and this is part of what I've learned over the last few years, is that a company's job is to satisfy the end buyer, right from learning about a company right through to actually buying something, and then after service as well. And this cannot stop. This should be a passion and a mission for every employee, contractor working for the company. It should be a job of every person in the company to satisfy and impress the buyer, because that's their job. If they're in accounts, or whether they are in sales, or if they are the CEO of the company, doesn't matter. All of us have the same job, which is to make our customers happy and always wow them and impress them, so they go and become our brand ambassadors and sell for us.
Yeah, completely agree again. I think one of the issues is probably down to misaligned like KPIs and objectives, and potentially also too much focus on personal bonuses, bonuses that are determined by personal performance, which is something you still need. But if a marketing team has the objective of driving 1,000 leads a month, they're going to go and drive you 1,000 leads a month, and then now at the end of each month they're going to sit there going, "Cool, job well done." And then the sales team, who are tasked with converting those leads, is kind of potentially sat there going, "Yeah, but it's all rubbish. You've got us the wrong person from wrong people from companies, the wrong job titles, the wrong industries as well, and stuff like that." And then you're right. They need to be working together to make sure they're actually aligned, and they're giving the same message out, and then that extends to places like customer service as well. Customer service person should be able to almost kind of like sell the business. I'm not saying they should be able to, if someone phones them up and says, "Right, I'm interested," they don't necessarily have to do it on the phone there. They'd pass it over to the sales team, but they should be able to answer questions and deal with customers and prospects in a way that doesn't just fulfill their KPI of answering tickets or chat messages and things, and actually contributing to the business. So just finally then, if you could kill off one particular marketing channel or tactic, what would it be?
Personally, for me, I would say multi-level marketing, the pyramid schemes which you see today. I would say I have not been part of any of them, but I've seen them, and for some reason they just don't seem legit. I'm sure there are schemes out there which are actually very, very well executed and actually bring a lot of value. But some of the schemes out there are just seem very dodgy. Personally, I like to see the end of those. But as I mentioned, there are companies out there who are doing a great job at it, and it's genuine value for everybody. But yeah, multi-level marketing, pyramid schemes, yeah, I'm not a big fan of them.
Fair enough. It's not something I know much about, but I imagine there are some genuine companies out there who, done it well. They provide all the training and help and everything that people need. They really support their marketers or salespeople, really. And then there are other companies that kind of just say, we've got those people that we're selling to. That's our customer base, and that's it. And we don't really care how they do. But that's just a relatively uneducated opinion, to be honest. I actually know one guy on Facebook who I think he does coaching for multi-level marketers. And he admits he used to do it in a really kind of scammy, not scammy, but kind of like, not a great way. And he's changed his approach, and now he's helping these people build proper businesses out of it, because it must be possible.
Sure, I believe so. I think if done properly, and if there is genuine advantage there for the partners, the marketeers, and the end consumer, there is certainly merit in doing it. But I've seen a lot of companies just not doing it properly, and that leads to a very bad feeling of the company, and that's not a great brand for them either.
Well, I suppose it comes down to that long-term strategy thing again, doesn't it? The companies that will do well will be putting the time and effort into educating their, I don't really know what you call them, consultants, marketers, salespeople, the people who buy products from them to then sell on. They spend the time, really educating them, qualifying them. Are they actually the right person to get involved in this, or do they think they're just going to throw their money away? And the short-term thinkers are the ones who just advertise it to everyone as, you can make, $1,000 a month sitting at home. And their churn is probably really high. They probably potentially get a lot of people into debt. I don't know. But it's that short-term thinking of, we're going to make some money quickly, and then we'll find someone else to sell to.
Yeah, totally agree.
Cool. So, really great stuff. Really interesting. A big fan of content marketing, but it's difficult, isn't it? You've got to take that long-term approach and do your research and everything. How can people contact you if they want to find out more?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Raj Goodman Anand. If you search that, you'll probably find me. If you Google me, you'll find me there as well. But also, I'm on, obviously, you can check out our website, goodmanlantern.com. One thing that I'm doing quite a bit now is to launch courses. Again, I obviously eat my own dog food, as it were, and I'm launching a lot of courses, free courses for everybody to kind of look at. These are about content strategies. It's about what tools to use in digital, for example. And my mission for this year is to increase my good karma by 10 times. So I spend a lot of time responding to people on LinkedIn. I do a lot of LinkedIn content writing. I do this. We have a Facebook group called Sales and Marketing Mastermind with 5,500 members, where again, we get a lot of value. It's all about not talking about us. It's talking about common challenges for companies and to really help them, because I think there's enough business out there. Even in these times, there's enough business out there. I mean, the testament is, since the pandemic hit, we have stayed stable. In fact, we've been growing a little bit, not as quickly as last year, but still growing. And it's all because we really believe in giving value and really taking care of our peers, our customers, our partners. So if you just Google me, I'll come up. And if you want to have a chat, by all means, get in touch with me. I'm always willing to give my time and help where I possibly can.
That's great. Yeah, cheers, Raj.
Thank you, Will, for the opportunity.
There's loads of ways of providing content to your audience, whether it's simply social media and an email list, or writing books or white papers, or even video and audio content such as podcasts. The key to content marketing is to come up with a really clear objective and strategy for it and keep consistent with it. If you release a weekly article, make sure you keep posting weekly. I post daily on LinkedIn, and I make sure this podcast is out every week at the same time. Finally, stick with it. Content marketing does take time to show results, and you'll find yourself tweaking and refining it as you go to find the content that really works. It's a bit pointless if you write 5 or 10 blog articles and just give up because it hasn't done anything for you. If you'd like to learn more about content marketing, do reach out to Raj on LinkedIn or via the Goodman Lantern website. And as always, send any questions or requests for the podcast to will@customerswhoclick.com. In the next episode, I'll be speaking with Peter Wendt about brand positioning and finding the right message for your audience. But until then, keep those customers clicking.